Happy Tuesday, everyone, from Houston, Texas. Welcome to Stellar Parenting. I am your host, Brandi. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I also hold a Master of Science degree in psychology with an emphasis in child and adolescent development. And I'm super passionate about helping parents to custom design their parenting approach based on their child's natal chart. And if you'd like to work with me, please visit my website at brandicon.com and book a session. And just to let you know, my sessions are a little different from other astrologers because of my background as an evidential and trance medium. I don't just analyze planetary positions or alignments. I really tune into their energy and I offer guidance from a deeply intuitive place. So, again, if you'd like to work with me, my website is brandicon.com. So, for today, we have so much to talk about, so much to catch up on. It is April 1st, and I have the highlights for this month for everyone. So, we will go through the highlights and then I will give you the high points for this week. We'll talk about our transits for this week. So let's jump in. We've got a lot to talk about, guys. So this month, there's going to be a lot of changes coming up. We've had Venus retrograding through the sign of Aries, and now Venus is retrograding through the sign of Pisces since March 1st. And during this time, each one of us has been invited to really review our relationships and the dynamics that we have between ourselves and other people, and to really put a magnifying glass on how am I relating to others? Are my relationships serving me in a nurturing way? So, we were also focused on how we spent our money, what we really valued in life, to think about our values. Is our life aligned with our values? We've all been really mulling this over for the last few weeks. Well, this will come to an end on April 12th when Venus will finally go direct. And we've also been dealing with Mercury retrograde since March 14th. And during that time, we've all been invited to review how we think and how we communicate with others. And since Mercury was retrograding through Aries, and now Mercury is retrograding through Pisces, but really when Mercury was going backwards in the sign of Aries, we were looking at themes around how we assert ourselves in our communication and how we speak up for ourselves. Do we feel strong and courageous enough to speak up for ourselves, to assert ourselves, to speak up for other people? Now, with Mercury retrograding in the water sign of Pisces, that's so sensitive and intuitive, we are focused on not only asserting ourselves, not only speaking up for ourselves, but doing so in a very compassionate way. Now, Mercury will go direct in 1 week on April 7th, and then it will be time to move forward with all of the lessons that we've learned during this Mercury retrograde. It's also quite huge. I did speak last week about Neptune moving into Aries. So we have 3 outer planets in astrology. We have Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And those 3 planets tend to move extremely slowly. And the themes that they represent are themes that last during an entire generation. That's why they are called generational planets. So we had Neptune come into the sign of Aries Sunday, just a couple days ago. The last time Neptune was in the sign of Aries was 158 years ago, from 1862 through 1875. Now remember, Neptune is the planet of transcendence, dreams, and ideals, spirituality. And when Neptune enters a sign, there's the glamorization of the aspects or the themes of that sign. And so with Neptune moving into Aries, Neptune's now in Aries, Aries is all about courage, independence, freedom, assertiveness, initiating, starting, boldness. And people who will feel this change the most will have planets or angles anywhere from 0 to 1 degree of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And I have to tell you, I do have a natal planet at 29 degrees of Virgo, which is right before that 0 degree of Libra. So Neptune in Aries is opposing one of my natal planets and has been opposing that planet for several months, but in the sign of Pisces. And let me tell you, from that opposition, I felt so compassionate and empathetic, like Mother Teresa, right? Like, oh, such a sense of transcendence, spiritual transcendence. And it's like someone flipped a switch on Sunday when Neptune moved into Aries, because now I feel like I'm in warrior mode. I want to speak up. I want to speak up for other people. I want to assert myself. And I wish that I could hear from all of you guys, and to know, is anyone else feeling this change or this shift the way that I am feeling it? It's quite remarkable. Now, Neptune in Aries might signal a time period when we're really fighting for ideals and we're passionately pursuing avenues of activism or social change. It might also represent a time when we're stepping into our power instead of just handing it over to those at the top. But on the flip side, if we think about the shadow side of Aries, so if Aries is balanced and constructive, Aries can be very assertive. But when unbalanced, Aries can be overly aggressive. So Neptune and Aries could be a time when people potentially glamorize conflict, fighting, and war. And that's not the way, hopefully, that we will see this planet in this sign expressed this time. Because the last time in the 1800s, the day after Neptune moved into Aries, the United States entered into the Civil War. So this time, as a collective, as a society, I'm hoping that we make a different choice and we use this in a much more constructive and balanced way. So, what makes this so significant? Neptune moved into Aries on Sunday. If you remember, I've been talking quite a bit about Pluto moving into Aquarius on November 19th. And then we will have the other generational planet, Uranus, moving into Gemini this summer in July. The outer planets change signs. Okay, that happens. But it's rare that they all three change signs within, less than a year together. So this is a significant time. This is a significant year where things are going to change in a very significant way. Now, when Neptune moved into Aries on Sunday, it also activated a very sensitive point. So Neptune is now at 0 degrees of Aries. That point is called the Aries point. And historically, when this has happened before, it usually signals a time of high visibility for people. Okay, not just everyday people, yes, that as well, but also people in power. And this is usually when things will come out or go public. And the Aries point will be activated for the entire month of April. And Mercury, remember, Mercury is not going to be retrograding anymore. Mercury will be moving forward. Mercury is going to hit this same spot on April 16th, followed by Venus hitting the Aries point on April 30th. So it's possible that really big things can come out in the news this month. But on an individual level, I need for everyone to remember this piece of advice, especially for this month. It's very important. It's going to be difficult to keep things hidden this month. So make sure that you and your actions are aligned with the values of honesty and integrity. I want you to be genuine and I want you to be authentic. If you do something without good intentions, but then you try to pretend that your motive was good, you're not going to be able to disguise that this month. Okay. So align yourself with your highest potential and live from that place. You will not regret it, I promise you. So please remember that. Very important. Also, this month, Leo will leave the water sign of Cancer and move into the fire sign of Leo, which will give a boost of energy to people with planets or angles in the signs of Leo, Aries, and Sagittarius. So Mars is going to be in the fire sign of Leo from April 18th all the way through June 17th. And we're going to have a major aspect with Mars toward the end of this month when Mars and Pluto are going to oppose each other. On April 27th, there will be an opposition between Mars and Pluto. Now, Mars is the planet of action, energy, and drive. And Pluto is a much more intense version of Mars. So when these two aspect each other, especially when it's at a difficult angle, like an opposition, we really have to be careful because the dysfunctional expression of this dynamic duo can show up as explosive anger or violence. Now, if you think back to the beginning of the year here in the United States, we had a mass casualty event in New Orleans when 14 people were killed on New Year's Day. And during that time, guess what? We had Mars in opposition to Pluto. And this is the same transit that we are going to have again at the end of this month. So each of us must set the intention to use this energy constructively, not destructively, especially when it comes to the last week of the month. You want to use anger as motivation to create positive change and stand up for yourself or advocate for others. You also want to remember to express anger in a healthy way, like through physical activity or journaling or creative outlets, like creating art or music. So please, I need for everyone to keep that in mind as we're getting closer toward the end of this month. On April 12th, we will have a full moon at 23 degrees of Libra, which is going to be a time of strong emotions. This moon is going to be squaring, which is a tense aspect, Mars and Cancer. So there could be themes around getting things done at home, getting things done, finishing something, a project coming to full culmination with the family, or even around protecting and defending not only our family, but maybe also our homeland, our country. And we will have a new moon at 7 degrees of Taurus on April 27th, which will also be significant. So usually new moons mark a time of beginning, of starting something new. And this moon will be in a tense aspect to both Pluto and Mars. And on top of that, you guys, Mars is going to be opposing Pluto at the same time. This is the transit I was just telling you about that we had at the beginning of January when we had the attack on New Orleans. Mars opposing Pluto. So with the new moon on the 27th, you've got Mars opposing Pluto, and then that new moon is also in the mix. So I would definitely say this is going to be an eventful time for us. And the only thing that you can really do individually is to make sure that we are practicing awareness and we are handling all of this energy responsibly. We shape how we use the energy. We are not victims here. And there's nothing fated that has to happen that's bad. The only thing that needs to happen is we just need to be aware of the energy that we're working with and to set the intention to do it in a way that's constructive, that's balanced, and that's helpful. So finally, I do want to mention also, you may have seen other astrologers talking about this because there's quite a few that are speaking out about this publicly. This is going to be a difficult month for President Trump. And like I said, I'm sure you've heard other astrologers say the same thing. And what we are seeing is that he's heading into a time period where things could be a little bit dicey for him. Uh, he's going through the exact same transit that he went through last summer when an attempt was made on his life, which is very troubling. Regardless of how we feel politically about someone, we never wish for harm to come upon anyone. But this will be a sensitive time for him, not only because transiting Uranus is conjunct his midheaven, and that transiting Uranus is squaring his natal Mars in the sign of Leo, and that Mars is conjunct his ascendant, which is not only about how people see him, but also about his physical body. So, like I mentioned, regardless of how we feel politically about someone, let's all hold the energy for everyone to be safe and for everyone to be well. And yes, I'm also talking about the federal judges who are being threatened here in the US and their family members who are being threatened. Let's just hold the energy for safety and wellness for everyone. So, those are the highlights that we have for the month of April. And now we will jump into our transits for the week. So, these are our transits for April 1st through April 6th. Tuesday, April 1st, today. Happy April Fool's Day. We've got Venus conjunct the North Node at 27 degrees of Pisces. And when I connect to the energy behind this aspect, I'm shown that the North Node has a way of really bringing the energy of Venus to the forefront. Okay, so it's going to permeate the consciousness of humanity in different ways. Today, you might feel really focused on how you relate to others, on your relationships and your friendships, and all about what you value. Or you might be thinking about how you can show more compassion and empathy in your relationships. Or maybe you're rethinking how you acted in certain situations that really required you to be more empathetic and more understanding. But maybe at that point in time, you were not able to fully empathize with the person that you were interacting with. And now you're making a plan to ensure that next time, if it happens again next time, I'm going to behave differently. I'm going to hold myself to a different standard of action. Also, if you have children who have enjoyed a hobby in the past, but now they're not actively pursuing that hobby, don't be surprised over the next few days if they come to you and say, Mom, Dad, I want to go back to piano, or I want to go back to ballet, or I want to go back to baseball or basketball. That's possible during this time. So just remember that. But the energy of love, the energy of kindness and joy, that's the signature for this aspect, feels quite strong when I connect to it. And today, this energy may call you to use it, and you may feel drawn to call a friend or a family member and just tell them how much they mean to you, or to maybe do a kind deed for your neighbor. And if you're feeling that way, if you're feeling that pull, I really want you to go with it. Go with it, lean into it. Don't ignore the urge to show love. So on Friday, April 4th, Mercury retrograde will conjunct the North Node at 27 degrees of Pisces. So again, the energy of the North Node will really bring the principles of Mercury to the forefront. Okay. And those are the principles of thinking and communication. But remember, Mercury is retrograde right now, and Mercury retrograde calls for us to reflect and to review. So, with this transit, there could be a lot of rumination, a lot of going back over things, thinking about things, obsessing about things that you thought that you had dealt with before. Okay. Or thinking about things that you thought, situations that you thought were done and finished. Okay. That may be at the forefront of your mind on Friday. And you might also feel a deep need to finalize things that you've left unfinished, such as projects. Okay. There also might be a need to focus on creativity or spiritual expression or spiritual learning. Anything that utilizes the right side of the brain is appropriate. So on Friday, give yourself the safe space to think mystically, to think creatively, and to daydream or to visualize what you most want in your life. And don't demand that the energy of Mercury and Pisces be anything different than what it is. Also, on Friday, April 4th, we will have Saturn 24 degrees of Pisces sextile Uranus at 24 degrees of Taurus. So, Saturn is the planet that's all about commitment and structure, and Uranus is all about change and new ways of thinking. And when I tap into the energy of this aspect, it feels like a push forward, and it will really help us to develop the framework, system, or structure to implement radical new ideas. If there are systems or situations in your life that really require a new course of action, this aspect can help you with that. And for example, if you're in a work situation or relationship that really feels too limiting or restrictive, this might be the time when you come up with a concrete plan to give yourself that sense of freedom that you so desperately want. And that's because also on that day, Friday, April 4th, we will have Mars at 24 degrees of Cancer trining Saturn 24 degrees of Pisces. And Mars is all about energy and getting things done. So this transit can give us the energy and the drive to change things at home, to change things at work, in our relationships, or to make a move for our family, or to really go the distance with a project that requires intense focus and commitment. And parents, this is an excellent time to really implement structure at home and to instill a sense of discipline and routine to give your child a really solid foundation for secure attachment. It's also a great time to begin spiritual practices or activities at home, like family prayer time or meditation time. It's also a great time to set a routine or schedule for your child's creative pursuits. Like, okay, every Tuesday at 7 p.m., you are going to practice piano, okay? Or any other creative activities. That's what this transit would really be good for when it comes to you and your children. Also on Friday, April 4th. Wow, Friday is a loaded day, you can tell. We've got Mars, 24 degrees of Cancer, sextile Uranus, 24 degrees of Cancer. I'm sorry, that would be Uranus, 24 degrees of Taurus. So with Mars, Mars is all about action and energy. Uranus is about change and freedom. So this transit would really give us a burst of energy and a feeling of excitement and a drive to secure our freedom or to do something new, something out of the ordinary, to break our old routine. We might feel the need to take a new path, and now we have the energy to really get something off the ground, to get it going. We might feel drawn to break free from a limiting situation or to assert our own individuality. So, all of this is for Friday. And just watch how you're feeling the energy and set the intention to channel it in a very balanced and constructive way. On Sunday, April 6th, we will have the sun at 16 degrees of Aries, sextile Jupiter at 16 degrees of Gemini. The sun is about our sense of self, our identity, and Jupiter is all about growth and expansion. So, with this transit, there's going to be a lot of energy and drive to begin new projects and initiatives. because the sun is in the sign of Aries. And Aries is all about being a trailblazer and taking action and let's do something new, courageous, and bold. You might feel really confident with the idea of blazing a completely new trail or starting a project completely from scratch. And if you have a child who has a soccer or baseball or basketball game on this day, they may be able to really take this energy and utilize it in a magical way for this amazing performance. Okay, this aspect with the sun and Jupiter really gives a boost of confidence where we need it most. So keep that in mind. And finally, the same day, Sunday, April 6th, we will have Venus retrograde at 25 degrees of Pisces, trining Mars at 25 degrees of Cancer. So, with this aspect, we might be focused on our relationships at home. And maybe we come to the realization that we've really neglected these connections, like within our own home or family. And now there's a desire to really bridge the gap and to make amends. And this can also be with people outside of the family as well. This is the aspect that we could use to take steps to patch up old misunderstandings or disagreements. So utilize this energy with Venus trining Mars to bring in a sense of harmony, diplomacy, and peace to your relationships. So those are our transits for this week. Please set the intention to use this energy in a balanced way, in a way that brings stellar alignment with your highest potential and the highest version of you. And like I always like to remind you at the end of the show that the stars may guide us, but we hold the power to shape our destiny in wonderful and fantastic and amazing ways. So keep shining your inner light, let it radiate, let it spread it everywhere to everyone that you meet. And I hope that you all have an amazing week, and I will see you back here again next week.